I just like, so I'm someone who's been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Explain what that means.
So borderline
exactly.
personality disorder, they used to, way back when, in the olden days, the reason it's called borderline is because, or was called borderline, they now refer to it as EUPD, which is emotionally unstable personality disorder. I still think it's a little bit harsh because it's, you know, people come with the stereotypes and whatever. Like when you hear someone saying like, oh, my crazy ex-girlfriend and she keyed my car and she stalked me and she did all these things, she's emotionally unstable. And it's like, what it used to be actually, why it was called borderline is because they used to say it was like on the borderline of schizophrenia and bipolar.
Right.
So what it is that you go through kind of like these series of, it's very situational and it can be mainly based around relationships and it's generally rooted from childhood trauma. But it's basically just periods of emotional dysregulation, but it's not as extreme as someone with bipolar, because with bipolar, those periods of manic and depressive episodes can last anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months, depending on episodes. People think, oh, you're bipolar because you're happy for a day and sad for a day, but that is not what bipolar actually really looks like.
You know,
obviously, like for most mental health conditions, like therapy and medication and a supportive background of people around you is the best medicine that you can have.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of emphasis on supportive people around you because, as we were saying about the authenticity side of things, I think when you have a mental health condition and you've been diagnosed with a mental health condition, there's so much shame surrounding it, and it can be very difficult to be open with the people you love about how you're really feeling because it's scary.
Right.
It's scary. Those people don't want to hear that you feel like that. They don't want to hear that you don't want to be here anymore, or that life is really hard for you, or that you're struggling with things, because they, you know, everyone wants to think that the people that they love are happy in this life. I had been depressed for probably many years, so I think I'd first been actually given antidepressants by a GP at the age of 16.
Wow, it's quite young.
Yeah, but they were really reluctant. But at that point, it's like CAMS had tried to get involved. I wasn't really engaging with CAMS because I was really paranoid, and I was having a lot of like paranoid thoughts and things, like a lot of anxiety, a lot of things like that. And people kind of just thought I was a bad kid.
Right.
Like my mum just thought I was a bad kid.
Because you was really rebellious.
Like I would go out, I would stay at friends' houses, I wouldn't pick up the phone to her, I didn't want to hear, like I was really rejecting that relationship. And that was for a number of reasons, but I think the most important reason why I was rejecting it is because I didn't feel safe in it at the time.
When you say didn't feel safe, as in at home?
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff going on at home, and like I'm sure my mother will forgive me for saying, but she was going through her own things, and she wasn't able to be there for me. She wasn't able to be present, and so that definitely had an impact on me growing up. I had to kind of mature beyond my years, take care of myself, take care of my mum, and make sure certain things were sorted out in the way they need to be sorted out as much as a child could. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that obviously does have an impact on your health because you're not being a child, you're not able to go out there and, you know, do things, you know, you want to have friends coming over to have sleepovers and normal developmental things that children do at that age. Middle childhood friendships are very important in that development. And it's like, you know, my mum was depressed and, you know, there wasn't any food or the house was a mess or whatever. So I couldn't have friends around like that. And going around to other people's houses, I always felt a lot of internal shame because I felt like I had to go there and be this perfect child so that they didn't know I had all this stuff going on. So they would come back and they'd give me back to my mum and be such a pleasure to be around. And I liked hearing those nice things about myself because I didn't hear it a lot. Do you get what I mean? So yeah.